Valley Touch Battalion, room 739.
5 affirmative, break, medevac 39, advise you're 97 times 390.
6, confirming KL 60, 10 8.
530, we're north of the alleyway, 51st Street, Washburn, even side.
Can you believe it? Episode 50. Oh my gosh. You know, I honestly, when I think back to the episodes in the 20s and early 30s, you know, it was not coming easy, but it was going steady. And I knew where to carry it. And that was nice to know. But I think getting to episode 50 and watching the channel grow with subscribers, you know, I'm doing okay. I'm happy. Tapping the like, leaving a comment, and then subscribing are what send all the big signals to YouTube to help me. I think the biggest thing I like from my subscribers is saying hello in the comments, saying something, guiding me, giving me suggestions, just telling me if you're amused with me or if you're entertained with me, if I'm doing this right, what could I do better, what could I do different. I take any positive comment and we'll let it post through. I'm doing this to help me, and I'm doing this to entertain you. That's my whole thing. When I started doing this channel, I didn't know where it was taking me, and I was very happy to see the subscriber count growing very slowly and steadily going up. That is amazing. I think that's wonderful. So what I really wanted to get out of this channel was some value, some purpose to do things, to do projects, to get out and to make myself feel more worthwhile and happy at what's going on. And I think I'm doing that. I'm very happy with that point of it. So what's been going on in my life? Well, I do have a guaranteed place to live. The social services here in Ontario have pretty much guaranteed that for at least the next 2 months. That's fine. My wages did stop in July, and the reason for that was I've been on sick leave for a while, and my sick days ran out, so they stopped paying me. Instead of directly emailing me or maybe a phone call or something, nope, they just stopped paying. You know, all this van life, truck life, box build, you know, tiny home, all this kind of thing movement. I was there almost 30 years ago, before YouTube existed and I could say so. And Craig, one of my greatest buddies, he remembers we did this when I was a locksmith and had my cube van. I had 4 specific bench work tables on the inside of this box truck, and they were on wheels and they were locked against the wall, and independently we could unlock them and remove the benches if I didn't need one bench or a different bench on different projects. It was a great idea. It worked fantastic. Craig and I also made some pretty good money on many weekends, being able to take all these benches out, and then you would have a totally clear, empty cube van that I could do moving jobs in the weekend and split the money with Craig. So when I was locksmithing, what happened is one of my subcontractors ended up communicating with me, and I then started doing work with that major sort of international company on the side. And that led into a full job offer for me to become a service engineer with them. So I let the locksmith company go. I started with this major international security and hardware provider, and that's what ended up transferring me from Nova Scotia to Ontario, and that was in 2005. So that was a good go. I did okay, but that job sort of went away. So anyhow, I started working for the city of Ottawa in 2014, and that ended up going very well because of my experience just previously with the long haul truck driving, which happened sort of between that job that transferred me to Ottawa and working for the city. The job with the city is amazing, and I've loved it, and I still actually love it. If I could just get back to it, more coming on that. So working for the city of Ottawa, I ended up buying in 2014 a black Dodge Caravan, which I used daily. It was my daily driver, obviously. As well, I also used it with the Cabot Trail Relay Race as a volunteer with the organizers, and I did many races with them. I think it was 12. And with that as well, I also did the Rum Runners race. That was held in the fall in Nova Scotia, a very well-known event as well. You know, on these long trips, I had been thinking back then again, because Craig and I, with that locksmith van that I used to have, we did several installations in Newfoundland and in Prince Edward Island. And traveling that far, we would take out certain cabinets in the locksmith truck that I didn't need, and then we would put our sleeping bags in there, mattresses, you know, a cooler for food and whatnot. And that became the place to stay while we were doing work. And it worked great. So that's what I sort of got into with the van. After the events slowed down a bit with volunteers. Then I transitioned the Dodge van into sort of, a tiny space. Grant helped me with the different power systems, and I put in a diesel heater, lithium battery, of course. I put in a mattress. I guess it was a bit larger than a single mattress, and it was very comfortable. And Maggie traveled with me, which was incredible. We had a great time and made many trips to Nova Scotia, back and forth. I think Maggie was with me on 2 or 3 different trips. And as well, I did Iron Prior, and that's in one of my episodes. There are several episodes that I've already covered some of this in, but I think it's important right now just to flash back and go through it, and I can do it quite well now. In 2022, I was, and I had been for many years, the overtime guy. I loved overtime at work. I always wanted to do work. I worked on holidays. I worked early. I worked late. If I could, I did overtime, and it was my thing, doing very well and enjoying the money that came along with that. In December of 2022, one morning, a nice early day, I end up in my city vehicle coming into a situation where I directly witnessed right outside my window of my vehicle. I witnessed a young special needs fellow getting hit by a car. I initially right away called for help and then went out with him, and I spoke to him and spoke with him for a minute or so until I realized he had stopped breathing. I checked for a pulse, and there was no pulse. I turned him over, and I began CPR with many bystanders watching, and after me even asking for help, I was not getting any help from them. I continued alone for over 15 minutes until a young fellow from a Shell gas station just nearby, right across the road, he came over and assisted me in getting the body position of this man into a bit of a better position. So anyhow, I was continuing CPR through this whole period. The young man stepped away, and I was alone again for several minutes until I felt a hand on my shoulder, and it was a firefighter, and I didn't even hear the fire truck pull in behind me, just maybe 15 feet behind me. Didn't even hear it at the time. I guess my mind was on other things. At any rate, the young man, after receiving assistance from the fire department, and then shortly after, the paramedics began to arrive. On scene, I was still held on scene. The paramedic supervisor that arrived had declared the young man deceased at the scene. Therefore, the scene was now locked down until an investigation began. So the first statement I wrote up was for the city, for my work. I was then interviewed by 2 police officers, and I ended up having to do a separate statement for them. And then I was held even longer, obviously on site, until the coroner's investigators got there. So this whole situation took, I believe, just over 4 hours, and then I was finally released from the scene. I was driven home by another city employee I didn't drive my own city vehicle. When I got back to where my car was, things were starting to, how would I say, bother me in the way that I sat in my car, the van, and then I don't know if I couldn't do it or if I didn't want to, but I couldn't start the car. I sat for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and I just sat there. And it wasn't until I realized that, okay, I need to take a break, I need to do something. I got out of the van, went inside, and I told one of the fellows downstairs that I needed space to mellow out, to calm down, to sit. And I was given access to upstairs of the building into one of our boardrooms, and I ended up staying there for almost 2 hours. I did break down, and with the reality of things. So after I had taken some time to, collect all my thoughts, I was able to get out to my car, and I did drive home. And then I remember going upstairs into my bedroom, basically at, 2 o'clock or 2:30 in the afternoon. I got ready for bed, and I went to bed. There was no sleeping. But there was just all these thoughts. The biggest thing I didn't realize was how well some of our pets can really know us. It was literally that afternoon that Maggie knew something was not right. And she started to give me attention, started to lay next to me with contact. She would reach out and hold on to me for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. She would lay so that she could be next to my shoulder or next to my face or next to the side of my head when we were trying to sleep. And I say that because I don't remember sleeping, at least for weeks, if not for the first couple of months. And anyhow, she was giving me attention I had never noticed or seen from her. In the later part of January, I contacted a psychologist for some assistance. And right about the same time, towards January, I was also connected to a provincial insurance provider who took over my wages, took over my full wages, including my historical overtime for the previous year at that same time of year, which was cool because I worked a lot. And now I couldn't work in, January, February of 2023. I knew that I was still worrying, still thinking about things in ways that were not perhaps healthy. And I wanted to try and divert my mind, try and do something different to see about getting myself, entertained, doing something valuable, doing something I could handle at that time. And within the same time period, two things began to happen. I began to search for a project, and that's where I was searching for different vehicles to work on to make a travel or adventure vehicle. However, another thing that was happening was I'm starting to feel physical pain, a lot of physical pain. In late February of 2023, I passed out, or nearly passed out. I didn't hit the floor, but I was lucky. I was holding on to a medicine cabinet rail, because if not, I would have been on the floor. And I ended up going to the hospital, and they checked my midsection because the pain I'm getting is in the groin area, extremely sharp, and I'm urinating color of blood. They check me for stones and any kind of issue that way and can't find anything. So I'm referred to a urologist. Get this. I'm referred to a urologist in February, and I get to see the urologist in October. That's Canada for you. If you think Canada has a wonderful medical system, think again. It does not. We used to, but we do not now. Don't let some of the politicians fool you. Canada is in serious trouble with our medical system. It is failing big time. At any rate, so I must wait 8 months to see a doctor. In the meantime, I'm getting a lot of support from friends and some very close people in my life, as well as my psychologist and my family doctor that I was able to get in to see several times. He was amazing. He looked after me the best he could, and without his care, I don't know where I would have been. I find this box truck. It's in a city near me, about a 4-hour drive or so, 3 and a half, I guess, 3 hours. At any rate, Brian is another really good friend of mine. He offers to drive me down on the day that I decide to purchase said box truck. I bring Boxy home. Boxy always, her engine ran a little bit odd, but I thought I could fix it, take care of it. I did a lot of work to Boxy. I cleaned her up. I fixed many issues, upgraded many things. You know what? I really liked that truck. I really did. There were a couple of things, though, that sort of gave me fear about the truck. When I was talking to Grant many times, another incredible pal of mine, and I had gone over the basic math of what I would need to do to Boxy. Keep in mind, I'm on this insurance support, which is fine at this time in early spring of 2023. But still, you got to be careful. You can't just go willy-nilly and spend tons of money. So, anyhow, I knew that could be trouble, so I'm still trying to find the cheapest ways to do everything. And yes, there is, secondhand products, which I looked into, and using different types of insulation, which I looked into. These are all ideas, and they all might have worked very well. However, when I took a trip to Halifax in Boxy in May of 2023, the way to Halifax, that she was not quite healthy. So when I was in Halifax, Grant and another couple of really good friends tried to give me assistance, and we worked on the spark plugs, and we worked on the coils, the coil over coil things. What do they call them? The coils. Every spark plug now has a coil. I think the last time I worked on the top of an engine, spark plugs, didn't have that. There was a distributor and one coil. The drive from Halifax to get back home to Ontario was close to hell. I have to say again, I'm glad Maggie was with me because, you know, I had to keep her safe. I had to keep her dry. I had to keep her warm. I blew a radiator line, a big one, when we got towards Fredericton. The next day, it actually lost its whole transmission, blew the transmission just outside of Rivière-du-Loup in Quebec. And that was, 20 days or so in Edmundston. Finally got the new transmission after $6,500 and end up getting her back to Ottawa. Meanwhile, I'm still suffering, by the way. I have to urinate every 10 minutes, day or night. Tons and tons of pain. This is constant through the whole trip to Halifax, constant through the driving on the highway, constant to being stuck in Edmundston. Pain. I forgot to tell you about that. Pain all the time. Because they don't know what's wrong with me. My family doctor's given me several medications to try and alleviate things. Some things sort of worked, but most things did not work. Well, then it gets stolen. Yes, Boxy got stolen from right here in the city where I live. And the police, it took them about 6 weeks to find the box truck. But by then, the insurance company had settled. I had started to look for different vehicles. I had looked at ambulance purchase ideas many times over the years, but they always seemed, I don't know how, they seemed too much of a project, but I didn't really understand until I literally thought about it deep down. First of all, the ambulances are pre-insulated. Secondly, they're built like tanks. Thirdly, they are maintained if you buy it right after it came out of service. If you buy an ambulance that somebody else owned for 3, 6, or 9 years, then you have no clue how it was maintained, folks. That's an important part to remember. When I bought this ambulance, the seller that I bought it from was the purchaser directly from the auction yard in Manitoba. The ambulance only drove from the auction yard to this seller's yard, and that was it. So I had the ambulance and I started to clean it up. I had a really good inspection done on it, and I told my mechanic to go over it, you know, fine tooth comb, magnifying glass, the whole bit. If anything seemed weak with it or worn, I wanted to know. I did my own oil changes. I put new tires on it. I put new shiny rim chrome covers on all 4 wheels. I've replaced a leaky thing on the transmission cooler. I've done several other things, you know, fixing some lights, putting in new headlight and turn signal mounts. I put in dash cameras. You know, I've done the usual maintenance and upkeep things. But then things start sort of changing when I'm given a diagnosis for my condition, my painful condition that is constant all the time. I was diagnosed with chronic prostatitis, and I got to tell you, it's zero fun, and it's all frustration, because there's very little that can be done with it. If it's not severe enough or certain criteria don't let them do surgery, then they don't do surgery. And that's what happened in my case. The surgeon, hands off, treatment only, live with it and try and get better. And the thing is, pain gives you stress, and then stress gives you pain. So it's this sort of roundhouse effect. I get the ambulance back. I've had it for a year now. I got it in August of 2023, and it's been a pretty good project. I've really gotten a lot done. It is amazing comfortable. I like driving it, and I've had folks come up to me on the street, and when I'm in different stores and parking lots and restaurants and wherever, and because they see the primotimes on the side that I had put on, they come up and introduce themselves, and I've had dozens of wonderful chats with new folks that are watching my channel now and keeping tabs on me. Thank you. I sold Vanny in February of this year, 2024. I was happy to see Vanny go, at least for the price I got for her, because used car prices in the last couple of years have been insane. So high, it's incredible. In fact, the prices are just barely coming down now in mid to late 2024. But anyhow, in February, I sold Vanny for just half of what I paid for her. Half, 50%. And she was almost 9 years old. The ambulance then became an only child. So after doing work to the ambulance through last fall and winter and a tiny bit the spring of 2024, I decided to shoot to Halifax and take a little visit and see the folks up there, see my buddy Grant and everyone else. Maggie, my little caretaker, who found out months earlier that she had a tumor that was starting to grow, and the vet checked, and we found it was benign, which is good, I guess. It's not affecting any other organs. However, it was starting to grow quite large and pressing on all of her other organs in her abdomen. So when I went to Halifax in May, I took Maggie with me, and she wasn't doing so well. I think that's why I took her with me anyhow, to keep her close. But she really started to show signs of slowing down, of giving up. And get to Halifax and just get the trip started when Maggie really showed some serious signs. So that's where Maggie died, in Halifax. She had a really tough go about 3.5, maybe 4 years ago with kidney stones. And I put her through that surgery, and she did really well. And my gosh, did she come out of that and happy for, several years. She was just like a kitten again, running around, having a great time. But she couldn't get through this tumor. That was not something she was going to survive at all. I get home, I'm dealing with Maggie. I have had a cutback from wages because of first a paper mistake. There was an email that I sent out which explained something, but that got interpreted wrong and sent out by the city to the Ontario insurer who is giving me my wages, and because of that mistake they cut me off. So I got put on to just sick leave from the city instead of all my overtime. So I've lost about $2,000 a month in wages. That happened in the late spring of 2024. And then in July, just 2 months ago, those sick days run out. And they didn't tell me until I go check my banking account one morning on payday, and there's like hardly nothing there. And I'm in a minor bit of a panic. I'm thinking, oh, this has to be a simple mistake. So then I call city's payroll, and nope, no mistake. You're out of pay now. That's it. You're done. You're still an employee and a valuable member of this city, but we're not going to pay you anymore. And the funny thing is, my ID card still works all the city doors that I have access to. And I can still get medications that I'm on, which I need because I'm in extreme pain all the time. I can still get that, and it's covered by the city. So, but they can't pay me. At any rate, that's why I had to go to social services. So at least I have a place to live now. I still am in a hurting spot to keep this ambulance project going. Even gas money, I park most days of the week now and don't go anywhere, don't do anything. I need your support. I need you to subscribe if you can, if you haven't yet. I need you to share my channel. That tab is also down below. To copy a link and send out to your friends. Let them take a look at the channel, some of the episodes I've done. So where am I at right now with the ambulance? Well, like I said, I have some parts on hand, some things on hand. There's also a lot of work, a lot of things I can do that will need to be done anyhow, that I can do without buying anything. So that's where we're at next, is continuing to remove stuff from the box that I don't need. There's also other little things I can do, like the dash. I need to clean up the dash. There's some wiring stuff here we can do to make this look a lot better and make it probably more functional. We'll do that. I'm trying to keep my mood up. I'm trying to stay positive, because if I don't, this stupid, prostate issue, it starts to hurt more. I'm trying to keep my diet up. That's a little bit tough with the money situation, but, whatever. I'll do my thing. I'll try and make it work. I'll try to keep putting videos out to you that are half entertaining, and maybe we can learn some, mechanical tricks along the way. I do have some wiring stuff I've really got to get to. I can do that without buying a lot of parts, so that will help. It all comes down to where I'm heading with this, and that depends on really what support I get from folks like you. Now, mind you, I don't mean just always money support. No. What I mean is touching the like, please. Saying hello in the comments. It doesn't matter if you think you have nothing important to say. Just say hi. Nice to see you. Have a nice day. We'll see you next time. That's all. If you don't have technical advice, that doesn't matter. You are important to me regardless. This episode was not supposed to be crazy long, but I felt it had to be done. And I'm glad I did it. So I'm hoping to have edited this episode for you to be half entertaining and not, crappy long. So, thank you so much for getting me to episode 50. 50, I can't believe it. I know the next big step will be episode 100. Like, I can't even imagine where I'll be with this ambulance and project and where we would have gone and what we would have done at that point. It's crazy to think, but I'm going to try to get there. I'm going to keep going. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're going to stay with me. Please stay with me. I'm sure this will get more entertaining as we go. And folks, as well, I always say I appreciate you being here. If it wasn't for you and watching the channel, I don't know where I'd be, honestly. I can't imagine. Maybe in a better place, maybe not in a better place, but I can tell you one thing. I'm glad I did it. All of it. And for the folks that I've touched and reached out to, and if you've enjoyed this, please let me know. Talk to you next time. We're going to start on episode 51 next time. Hard to believe. We're on the second half of the big one. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your time. I know that each of us are valuable in our own little way. Don't forget that. I love you very much. Thank you. See you next time.